Hello, Culture Matters Podcast. Buckle up, put the seatbelt on, fasten yourself, get ready. I'm excited for this show. Before we get started, here's a quote just for this episode. The productivity of work is not the responsibility of the worker, but of the manager. Peter Drucker. Our guest today, a great friend of the Culture Matters podcast. I say that about just about everybody, but this one I really, really, really mean it. They've been on the show before, episode 468 and episode 580. They're building people, they're building culture, they're helping me build the Culture Matters podcast with some great guests that they've brought into my life that you've been able to benefit from, like our new friend Lior Arusi, and so many other great relationships they brought in my life. They also helped my family with, man, everything that's around me. I'm in a home, a place I call home. They helped me find this. Shit, they might have buried somebody just to make this happen. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. They've got great culture, but over 30 years ago, their progenitor started a company that decided to help people with their home building needs around in and around construction. And today they have this amazing family business they're leading with their loved ones. Ryman RK Ryman. I just had like a brain fart there. RK Ryman, the one and only Bill Reiman is back, host of the Real Build podcast. Really leader within the top contractor school. I have to give a shout out to one of my guardian angels who brought us together. Of course, the real Brian Hest. Bill, thanks for coming back to the Culture Matters podcast. This is crazy. Now that I did the introduction, we have about 5 minutes left. If you want to just share a couple words.
Now the intros get better and better each time, Jay. So no, man, honored to be on here. You and I just need to hit record every time we come on because you and I end up talking for like 15, 20 minutes before, and then we never get a full show in. So, but appreciate you, brother, and love everything you're doing, and honored to be your friend and have gotten to know you over the last few years. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this. Thanks for having me on.
I don't recall what your word for 2024 was.
It was intentional.
Were you?
Yes. Yes, in a lot of ways. Definitely. But yeah, that was the primary word is being more intentional with surroundings, people in my life, things that are actually happening in my life and why they're happening and kind of um taking it more in a biblical perspective of things, of how God operates and why he operates the way he does.
Wow.
And it helped a lot by doing that stress wise and just cleared my mind quite a bit compared to many years prior. Let's put it that way.
What activities would you say or behaviors were associated with the word intentional or rituals?
It was a mix of everything, man. It was just like it was things happening around me, like noticing things like you know, there's something that happened. Like I was talking about like future plans with Liz. We were in my truck. We were just driving to actually go to dinner together. And all of a sudden, as I'm talking about those future plans, I hear a revved engine right next to me. Well, what it actually was, I look over and it's a red Lamborghini. What's symbolic about that red Lamborghini is this picture right here.
Oh, yeah.
So since I was a little kid, I've always wanted a Lamborghini. Didn't not necessarily a red one. I want a black one. I like black cars, but um, that right there, I was like, holy crap! As we're talking about our future and business and all these different things, I was like, if that's not law of attraction, I don't know what it is. And I mean, like I said, that was on my wall as a little kid. That was my dream car, and I still have the picture. I just keep it here, but
Mm.
being intentional in that aspect, being intentional of why things are happening too. We had as far as a sales year with houses, we had a slower year on the building side. And instead of getting super stressed out about it, it was more being intentional of why. Okay. You know, a lot of the times with election years, the building industry does slow down. Every builder in the area typically, they pretty much did. Um, that slowdown really helped us get into the new Naples office, get that set up because I'm obviously the one that had to do all that. And that kind of also helped us catch up on a lot of the work that we had. We had 17 houses at one time going, which was insane. And there's a lot of stress within our organization. So it allowed us to kind of catch up. Now we've closed this year, we closed 6 projects, and we have obviously, yeah, that would make however many going, 6 closed, 12
Wow.
now. So anyway, but um, so 6 closed this year. We'll probably close another 6 or 7 next year. But it was it was a time of being intentional instead of me stressing like we don't have many sales, this and that, which end of the year we've picked up quite a bit, right after the election. I have 5 new people that I'm working with. I already have 2 new contracts before the year ended. And so, but being intentional, back to what I was saying, there was a reason for that. It needed to happen. So, because I think if I would have kept going and kept adding on more, I think we would have taken on way too much that our employees would be able to handle. The stress would have gotten to them too. Because I have another thing is we have really, really good employees. We have a really, really good team. And building that team, you can't just add, like, culture. Culture matters. You can't just add anybody and everyone to your team because you can add a bad egg that will just kill the culture. So I think that a little bit of a slowdown, being intentional about it, helped us kind of get the systems and processes in order that we needed to. Because once again, we've never been this busy. So we didn't really have the systems in line too, as well. So we're able to kind of create better systems for everybody as well. There's just a lot of
Mm.
positive, believe or not, to that happening. Um, but going back to the word intentional too, it's seeing those things around you that are happening, whether it's in your relationships, it's in your business, it's in just life in general of why, and actually questioning why, instead of just letting life speed by and just not ever looking into the meaning of what's happening around you, the people you meet. That's another thing. I'm intentional about your and I's relationship. You moving here, that happened for a reason for us both, right? My relationship, we brought up Brian Hess, my relationship with Brian. Brian and I's conversations over the last few years. Like, I consider Brian a really close friend as well. And it's just those things God puts into your life, I'm more intentional about too, to answer your question.
In um what in hindsight, what's the biggest personal lesson?
From this past year for 2024. It's a good question. I'd probably say going back to what I just talked about, not stressing over some of the things that are happening so much that they take control of everything. Um, Looking back, like I used to stress if we didn't have anything happening or, the phone wasn't ringing, the stress would take over and it would just take over everything around me too. But actually, looking at why the path is what it is and what God was doing, it's been one of the best things that could have happened for the business too. Um, and like I said, we closed out the year strong, no matter what. I just had time to do all the things that I would have not have been able to do, like the expansion and all these different things, if I had all the calls coming in that I did the year prior and so on and so on. Those in implementing those systems like we needed to as well, because being that busy, we weren't used to it, so things were slipping through the cracks. I was noticing, so I was able to figure out how can we fill those cracks, and how can we not let it happen again, to where now that's the expectation to be the biggest luxury builder in the state of Florida. These are things that you need to have solved to get there. And I think this time really allowed me to do that too. And looking back, I'm grateful it happened the way this past year happened the way it was too.
What's going to make 2025 special?
Um, I think 2025, the growth, the new chapter in Naples, the relationships that are being built, moving forward now too. It's meeting a lot of people, getting kind of setting a new precedence for our company as a builder too, the new relationships with architects, the new relationships with uh subcontractors, designers, stuff like that, that we're kind of building like this time as these past few years have really kind of started allowing me to build this powerhouse of a machine that has a great team behind it, that I can deliver that vision that I've always had as a builder of, that not one-stop shop, just move in, full on turnkey design, move in, the furniture's there. All you got to bring is a suitcase type vision, and as a luxury builder to have that brand, that perfection where people, when they buy a Ryman house, they're proud of it,
Hmm.
that to know that it's a Ryman house too. Um, so yeah, I'm looking forward. We have that on Marco now. I'm looking forward to really bringing it to life in Naples. That's like one of my primary things because I'm ready to do it now. Like we have the resources, we have everything. So
What's the excitement level of the team?
they're pumped, man. It's like, I always sell the vision, and I'm going to do that more too. Obviously is listening to your podcast with Leor too. That was one of the takes I got out of it too, is, most people don't sell the vision enough. Most business owners don't. I think he said 5% of the time or something is the average of people selling the vision. I'm probably guilty of that. I probably need to do it every
Oh, like in
meeting.
the team huddle, in the team huddles.
Yeah, yeah, and the team meetings and stuff constantly just bring up that vision of where you're going. Well, our vision, my true vision, which I'm putting, and want this team to be a part of, and they are a part of it, is, to be the number one luxury builder in the state of Florida. So talk about how we're going to get there constantly, consistently talk about that vision, and then also involving them within it too, of where that's going to take them as leadership roles and so on.
That's a great point because not only, 'cause I wonder, because then our actions have to live up to that, or
Yep.
else we'll lose the faith of our people. I wonder how many entrepreneurs don't share that as often, um, because of the what could come, you know, like that. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And but if you sell the vision good enough, if you really have the passion for the vision and know that you're going to get there, I mean, your team's going to ride with you. I mean, if they don't want to be a part of it, they'll leave, but I've done a good job at bringing it up. I should do it every time, which I'm going to. Like I said, after listening to that podcast, I think it needs to be brought up every time. It doesn't have to be pounded into them for an hour, but just to bring it up at the beginning, say, hey guys, this is where we're going. This is why we're here.
Right.
This is why you're here. You're leaders. You're going to be here, one day these houses on the water, and I always talk about this to them. These houses we're building on the water, each one of you guys are going to have one.
Well, I mean, think about it. Without the where and the why, it's just a job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't want it to be just a job. Like, and that's why I'm constantly, and another part of the vision too is how are we going to get there, right? Consistently clean job sites, perfection, what we strive for, the walkthroughs, the punch outs, the things that we stand out the most of why people have a Ryman house, the longevity of our homes. When realtors go to sell our homes, they put another house built by RK Ryman Construction. That's such an honor to have that, and
Wow.
that reputation of 30 years, never been in a lawsuit, out of all these years.
Wow.
Just we do the right things consistently, but also, get them to feel a part of it too. That's one thing I'm going to start doing in those meetings too, is also telling their stories, right? You and I kind of touched on this before we started, is talk about what they're doing right more, within those meetings. Talk about, we have an employee, her name's Kelly. Hey, Kelly, our client is just raving about you. He jokes around and says if you were the only one he talked about this whole entire build process, he'd be super happy about it. This and that. Like, this client talked about you with this and the selections and how great you've been and part of this. Just reiterating those good things that these clients put out there to them so they can consistently hear it and feel like, feel they're a part of what's going on, not that they're just a freaking employee that's just there to collect a check and that's it. They're a part of that building of this business. They're a part of us getting to that next level, being the top builder in Naples. We're the top builder on Marco. There's no reason we can't be the top builder in Naples in the next couple of years. And
What are
that's
some
like,
of the things that could stop you?
um, myself, lack of discipline, just kind of, you're your own worst enemy in some way. I don't think I'll stop myself because I'm a very determined person. But, that's just to answer your question. The CEO of a company can be the one that brings the company one way or the other. Another thing could be family business. It is a family business, one seeing the vision, the other not having that clear vision either within the ownership. But I think we're okay there right now. And then another thing could be not having consistent vision to your employees so that they just feel like just in they're just working for a check. They're not a part of something special, like we just talked about too, or failure to abide by the things your standard that you constantly put out there, and the standard starts slipping up because you get too busy.
I think it's also important to say that some employees are just working for a check, and that's okay too. But it's how they work.
Yeah.
Like like somebody that's very responsible as a human. Like at some part I'm not digressing. I think I just want to go in another direction. I want your opinion on this. It's like we used to at one point in this culture, people worked for their families.
Mm,
Like their values are shifting. It's like I do think there are employees that show up for their job. They might do a better job than people that, they're high level people. Their motivation's so deep about their family or like their why personally is so strong that they don't need a company's why to show up and over deliver. I just want
yeah.
curious your thoughts on that. Like that doesn't mean that we should abdicate our responsibility of having it. I'm not saying that to discount what you're saying or but but
Yeah.
I but I do think that there are people that yeah, it could be just a job for them. They could still do a better job than me.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm curious your thoughts on that, or I'm missing.
Um, yeah, I agree with you on that. I think there is people that it is just a job and that's as far as it goes, but I don't think I'm trying to build that culture within. I think when I look at our team, I see family. I see friendships, relationships. We can joke around with each other. Like it's a just a different vibe than a regular corporation that is just you get the person that collects the paycheck or um with us, yeah, selling the vision is important, but also to me, having relationships with your employees to where, it's not just it's business, but also, there's fun in it too. There's personal relationship in it too. I mean, like, I don't want to say personal relationship. I'll say there's like I can listen to them as a boss too. Like for example, I spoke with one of my employees today about some family issues that they're going through. Not going to get into detail on it too, but just be an open ear for, to listen to them. And that's important. too. Because if it was just a paycheck or just a job, I don't think they'd open up like that too. I listened once again today too. I listened to another one of my employees. She just got back from her trip, went and saw her daughter and her grandkids, and she met a new she's in a new relationship or starting a new relationship, and we were talking about it, and she was telling me she still has her guard up and stuff like that, and kind of getting into detail about it too. I don't think if she was just collecting a paycheck, I'd be able to have those conversations with her, and a lot of it is they feel comfortable talking to me about it too because they value my opinion as a leader, as a boss, and all of them, like another one of my employees, he had a cousin that just got in a bad accident. He was opening up to me about that and what the outcome's going to be and so on and so on. So having those personal relationships with them too, I think matters as a business owner too, because it strengthens the culture, it strengthens the bond within the community, the organization. That's the way I see it too. I mean, if somebody was just collecting a paycheck, I don't think it's going to be as meaningful to them. Maybe it will because they got other outcomes, like you said. Like, yeah, they got their family they want to take care of too, but there's more meaning to what we're building through
I
this
guess it depends
business
on,
too.
yeah, it depends on what they're doing with the actual customers. Also, it depends on, I guess the question becomes, and I'm curious if you think you're here yet, is like, if I build a close relationship with you, I also have to be able to ask you to leave if you've not done what you need to do, and that can be
Correct.
tough for people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I still, and that's the separation too. As a CEO, you have to obviously you want those relationships with them, and but you also have to still let them know that work is work, business is business. I
How do
mean, you
you
have
do
that
that? How
business.
do you temper the two?
I don't know. It's hard to
What's not
explain.
work?
Yeah. I mean, it works in general because when I'm stern, I'm stern. When stuff is, and I think they see that when stuff is going on, like in the team meetings and stuff like that. When I'm aggravated about something, I make it known. I don't call people out directly, but I'll talk about the things that need to be taken care of and why, and so on. But I also have discussion within the group too about what's going on as well. I'm very open-minded to hear their sides of things as well. I mean, obviously, if it's directly with somebody, I'll pull them in my office and we'll talk directly, or
How
I'll
do
go
you
to a
do
job.
that effectively? What's
I
your
go to a
advice for the
job
audience?
site. I'll meet them out in the job site and I'll say, "Hey, man, here's what I heard that happened, and this is how it's not supposed to happen, or this is what you did, and this is how it needs to happen moving forward." You be stern about. You can't. I mean, I just talked about the friendships and business and stuff like that. There's that relationship, but there's also that you're the boss. They have to respect you. And I think you get both of those it's hard to explain how to do it, but you get both of those when you're stern, when you need to be stern, but you have that side of you that they can be comfortable around you too, where it's not like, oh God, the boss is here. We gotta, we can't have fun. We gotta just sit here and kind of quiet and it's awkward and,
What
that
do you
type of thing.
think is wrong with each extreme? So, like the first, right? Just
Being
right
too,
fear
being
without
too,
respect, and then
yeah.
the
Well,
com
being too
comfort.
friendly, being
Yeah.
too friendly with them, they're not going to respect you too. I mean, they're going to think they can do what they want when they want, right? If you're a pushover and they see that, um, people are going to take advantage of that. That's just how life works in general. And then if you're too stern and too controlling, then they're going to be afraid to do anything or ask anything or speak their mind about what the problems are. So there's really got to be that perfect in between, that mesh of both worlds to where people trust you, they're happy around you, they enjoy you being around, but they also know that they can't push you and push, like, they can't control you as a leader too. Um, and you're gonna be stern when things you I always explain how things are supposed to be. Like when I'm in meetings too, and I'm very upfront about this is how it needs to be, this is how we operate, and this is how we've always done it, and this is why we are where we are. This is why we're superior to a lot of other builders because this is how we've always done it. If you guys slip up and go the other way, too, I hear about it, and if I hear about it, there's problems too. You know, everything is ran the way we do it for a reason, and they see that, they listen. And I think it's like, yeah, like I said, we can have fun, joke around. I can get personal with them and I could say, hey, man, here's what you're doing. You know, why is this going on? Well, I feel this way, and this way. Okay, let me give you some advice. And they'll take that advice too. I had it happen with my laborer too. My laborer was gonna, like, I can give them advice that's gonna help them because I've been through some of the stuff too. Like my laborer is a younger kid, 18 years old, was going to move to Key West with his girlfriend, right? If he's listening
Wow.
to this, if he's listening to this, sorry, I'm gonna tell your story, but um, he wanted to move to Key West with his girlfriend, 18 years old. He was going to sleep on a couch. Um, and he has a great opportunity with us. So I instead of, you know, he texted me his 2 weeks or whatever he wanted to put in writing. I said, okay, I want to have a talk with you before you decide to do anything, if that's okay. He said, absolutely. So I went and I talked to him and I said, Chase, I'm just going to give you my perspective on this because I've been where you are. I was like, you're a hardworking kid. You got a lot going for you. You're making good money with us. You can work your way up with us very easily. We obviously want you to stay here. So here's the choice that you're going to make. You're going to go sleep on a couch in the Keys. You're probably going to have three options for a job. It's probably going to be out running on or you're probably going to be on a charter boat. You're probably going to be a bar back, or you're probably going to be, what was the other one? Working at a strip club. No, probably going to be working at a restaurant or something like that. You or working construction. That's what I said to him. You probably work a construction job, but they're not going to pay you as good as us because you're going to have to start once again, all over again. And who knows what they pay down there. So I was like, and then you're going to be living on a couch because a girl wanted you to move there. That I'm sorry to tell you, but more than likely, this relationship isn't going to be your last. So at your age, might be true love. I don't know, but judging by myself personally, chasing this to go down there, and throwing away what you have here, I was like, a lot of guys your age, I would kill to go back and work, and I worked all the time at that age, but save money. He's a responsible kid. And work his way up into a business and not throw it away partying or having fun, whatever. You know, a lot of guys look back that are my age, your age, whatever, and we kind of say, you know, what if we did that when we were younger? You know, where would we be? We'd be a lot farther than we are today. And so I told him that I was like, you have so much going for you. You can save money right now. I was like, what's your parents say? He goes, they're pretty close to the exact same thing you did. And I was like, well, maybe you should take this multiple set of advice. I go, just think about it, man. I was like, she's not going anywhere. You know, you still have her. You just got to drive to see her for a little bit. He ended up the next day, came back. He was like, Bill, because of our talk, he goes, I'm going to stay. And I was like, that's awesome, man. I gave him a raise. And then also, I sold him one of our old trucks. So he had a new car or truck, work truck that he can drive. And then down the road, here we go. Guess what? His girlfriend ended up moving back here. So he would have thrown everything away just to go do that temporarily. And having those relationships and talking to your employees like that, you build that trust. You build, you know, he trusts me. He knows, and like I always, whenever I talk vision, whenever he's like, I'm with you, I'm going, we're going, this and that. Like he's a part of it. It's camaraderie too. Like, you know, and I think I learned a lot of camaraderie growing up because obviously playing football for a long time, like I did, I was in a locker room constantly, and you're around a bunch of dudes, and you're a team, man. And that's where, you know, being around coaches, teammates, stuff like that. That's where I think I've learned that aspect of it a lot too. And we're doing a pretty damn good job with it, because our employees love working with us. They love being a part of what they're doing. And we have fun. I mean, we do still have fun, but we're serious, obviously, when we need to be serious. And things have been running really, really well. And I feel very blessed to have the people that I do on our team.
You have a word for 2025?
Man, I've been thinking about this. This one I've had a few running through my mind, to be honest with you. Discipline has been the one most consistently. Um, and the reason I reflect on discipline is because, I'm thinking about doing things, I mean, if I could have two words, it'd be like mentally tough, but doing things that are going to push me even further, and discipline, you need to have discipline to do that. Um, whether it's giving up drinking, or having the discipline to make sure all these goals that I write down are being accomplished. Like last year, for example, I wanted to read 25 books. I think I read like a total, and I'm not counting audiobooks. I think I read 10. So I didn't
Wow,
hit my
that's a lot.
goal, but still, that's more books than I've ever read. But, I
That's a lot.
want to really have discipline in the things that I'm doing, have discipline in the things, like building this studio and getting people in and meeting new people. And like you and I talk about this year with Lollapalooza and really getting known in this community too. That's going to be the ultimate goal, but I need discipline to do that too. And not having all the craziness and the outside stuff and using that like as an excuse. Like I look at you, like you're very disciplined. 365 podcasts, right? 300 and what? 70?
Well, as of this recording, it would be, I think this is 24 and 357, but I still have, what time is it? 6. So let's say another, yeah, about 24 hours left. So it should be, I think I'm going to end at 375. So
So 375 podcasts. That's a hell of a lot of discipline right there. And you keep going, right? And that's the thing. Like I look at you and I listen to it. It's what was her? I think Alex Hermosi said this quote, and it popped up, and it wasn't about surrounding yourself with the five people or whatever that influence you. It was something about surrounding yourself with people with bigger goals that actually accomplish bigger things than you, right? Well, I surround myself with people like yourself. You're accomplishing 370 podcasts within a year. Like, I podcast too. Like Jay can do it. I should be able to do stuff like that. I should be able to have all these interviews and fulfill the commitments that I have to myself, right? So I think that's why like discipline keeps popping in my head. Faith was one of them. Like, but I think the faith one would go with discipline because I want to increase my faith next year, right? But you got to have discipline to do that. So
yeah.
that's why discipline just keeps popping back. Like I need to be more disciplined to read that Bible every single day, right? And I'm like, you know what? I think that's what my word's gonna be because I've been juggling all these different ones, faith, and then what was another one I was thinking? I forget, but see, it probably wasn't important then. But it was it's just a lot of it kind of just keeps circling back to that one word that if I don't do that, then none of these are gonna work. So discipline's it. 2025.
I like what you just said about, so like one of my mentors, he's done over 20,000 about 20, over 20,000 interviews in 50 years. So that's over 400 a year
Yeah. There you
for
go.
50 years.
See? And
So
that
now
right there,
they weren't recorded, but hey, I'm born a couple generations later after that person. So
yeah,
that's with the Isaac Newton. I can stand on the shoulders of giants so I can see farther.
there you go. But yeah, love that.
And so like when I hear, what it's exciting that we have the opportunity to push and pull each other forward. How much of it do you think is us not even saying things to people and just doing it? Like I've never said to you, hey, do more shows, or I mean, I've shared methodologies or like things that could lead to the ability to do more. But I'll give you an example. I was on the treadmill the other day with Brad, and like, he's been working on getting the six pack. He wants to win a bet, so he won. I'm like, we worked out and then did the treadmill. And it was like on an incline, almost double what I normally do, and it was faster by at least 50%. And I'm like, and he's hilarious. Like, yeah, what? I can't even walk. Like, the psychology that got him to the point where, he was like, enough is enough. I can do this. Like, I can't even walk. And I quite literally couldn't even walk, trying to keep up with him walking. It was like 30 minutes of this shit. And it was like, so we did this exercise, and then I thought, more after him, and I caught myself a few days later benefiting from the consequence of being around somebody that had an aim and was doing something for their betterment. He
Yeah.
I wasn't told to do more of it, or he didn't.
No, you were around it and you saw it. You felt,
Mhm.
you were around it, and getting around people like that are higher achievers that, I mean, it always makes you better. I mean, being in TCS and going to the events and getting around like-minded people. But to answer your question, how much is it the influence of people versus you having to do it yourself? I
No, my
think,
question is like it's about, like, my question was around, how much of it is, if I do what I know what I need to do, all right, and the bills of the world will see it and do something. Like, I'm not interested in convincing somebody that's listening to this to be fucking great, dude. So
yeah.
that is the least exciting thing to do, personally. Like, I think if I just do what I'm doing, if I read to think, if I write to develop, if I listen to hear what is unsaid, if I speak to let go, if I follow the formula that I came up for my own benefit to improve my culture, improve my life, then people will take notice and come and say, hey, I want to do that too. And I've noticed, because I'm ambitious, I am ambitious. I have a vision. I know where I want to go. So I spend time with somebody that's doing something I want to learn. I'm gonna learn from it. I'm gonna do it. They don't even need to
Hmm.
tell me to do it. They don't need to even try to convince me to do it. I'm gonna do it. And I respect that about you. And so I noticed that the other day when I'm around, yeah, I learn from all of our client partners. It could be, but I have a lot of mentors too that I sought out and created. And like I spend time, I use the one as an example. Like, you were saying how, I was, my example has led you to think, more broadly. It's like, yeah, what a blessing, because I could think of one mentor in particular who's done what I'm doing or what I did this year. They've done that for 50 years for their genius, for their responsibility that they carry
Hmm.
to provide for their family. And, you know, it's like that excites me. Like, what excites you about whatever you're getting from our relationship, there's someone that I'm connected to that's been doing what I did one year, 50 years. Like, I
Oh
have
yeah.
so much more that I'm aiming up. I'm aiming as high as I can see. But there was a question in there about your thoughts around how important
No,
just do the work.
yeah, I completely agree with you because you're doing stuff that you don't even realize that people see and you influence them, right? Like there's stuff you don't even realize you're influencing me with, or you're influencing others around you because you're doing all these things that some might think is crazy and impossible, but others like myself see it as a possibility. If Jay can do it, I can do it. Like I do it with Brian Hess all the time, right? These things Brian is doing, I'm like, if Brian can do it, I can do it, you know? And it's going back to the example too. For when I chase the best version of myself, when I'm constantly doing the things that I need to, eating right, getting in shape, or being in shape, and um, you know, doing these things, doing the content, doing the things that most people don't do there's somebody out there watching and I've that or listening that you don't even know's been listening that you influence. I've influenced my family members around me by just doing what I should be doing, by eating right, not drinking. I did 75 hard quite a few times now. And I remember the first time I did it, the influence that I had on my family. They saw what it did for me. And my family ended up doing it. Everybody, like not my mom and dad. I mean, but like my sister did it, my brother did it, his wife did it, my brother-in-law did it. Like it impacts the people around you. Like when I'm doing these things too that are it influenced my wife too. Like my son, he's 15 months old, but eventually he's going to see those things too and absorb them and be like, oh, dad's working out. Dad works out every morning. Dad goes in a sauna or he does a cold plunge to get his body right. He's stretching. He's doing these things that he needs to do. He gets up earlier to do them. He reads his Bible. People catch on to these things because, they see that not only it benefits you in a lot of ways, but then they see like you radiate somehow. It's almost like you're glowing in this, like, you walk differently, you talk differently, your confidence is up too. um People tend to follow suit to things like
I want to
that,
speak to that. I think it's inspiring because we are in spirit, because there is a sacrificial element to service. This is like it's like Leor, we admire his work, his body of work, what he said on that show. It, I'm gonna try not to use $5, $10 words here. The root of that is that I think sacrifice.
Mm.
Because if I'm doing this show with you, you're here, we're both present. Like we're not somewhere else.
No.
We're not doing something else. We're serving each other.
Yeah, and you want to
Well,
give
we're serving the audience. Yeah, right.
you want to give the most. I want to give you the best hour I can. You want to give me the best hour you can, but you also want to give the audience the best hour and the most information that we can too.
we're serving the audience.
Yeah, it's a
We're
service
we're
mentality.
we're investing into our relationship. We have a relationship based on how we respect one another through this. We're serving the audience. We're creating value. There's a sacrificial element to service, meaning I can't do something else. If I'm working, I'm not playing. I got, if I'm creating, I'm not consuming. I think what you just said about like people, that energy, we're in spirit. They're inspired as a consequence of being in spirit. What is in spirit? To be in
There's
spirit is there's a sacrificial element. I am serving someone else more than myself. It's my future self is at cost. I could die right now after this. And this was the last thing
yeah.
that I ever did, was serve you and the audience and you. So future Jay will benefit from this, but current Jay, I only get, whatever dopamine it feels, or there's a sacrificial element to service. And that's where I think Leor was saying very eloquently about culture. I say that culture is a consequence of customer service. He was saying that exceptional service. The purpose of a business is to create a customer. That's what Drucker said. Create and keep a customer. That's what Peter Drucker said. Nothing's changed after that. It's just new technology. But the culture is different of the world, whatever. But I want to speak to that for a second, because I don't want the audience to overlook that wisdom you're sharing. You share there. It's like,
Let me can
yeah,
I
but
read something real
yeah.
quick? Because this is crazy. Because I wrote this down today. Because obviously I'm speaking at, or I don't know if I'm supposed to announce this, but um anyway, I've started kind of going through some stuff here and talking about service to others, right? So I wrote this down actually today. This was before this podcast also, which is crazy. I said if let's see, hang on. If I pour. All right, so I wrote down if I pour my life into as many people as possible, their life is better. We are born to serve others. This is why God put us on this earth. We are here to provide, protect, encourage, teach, and train. This is what creates growth within our lives too. God put us on this earth to serve others too. So going into a service mentality, a service mindset too, that is so true. Because if everything we do, which is what we're supposed to do, is to serve others, to give value to others, to do things for other people, I mean, it goes full circle. We get better, people get better. Like I'm here to serve you as much as I can on this podcast, right? But I learn from you at a consistent basis. Sometimes when you don't even know, like just by your content, maybe by listening to your show, by just knowing what Jay does. It benefits, it helps me too. That's your service to me too. So in some way, somehow, that's why we're here to serve others. Another thing I wrote down, I actually posted this today too. It's, I and This was a quote by somebody else, but he said, "In life, God doesn't give you the people you want; He gives you the people you need to help you, to hurt you, to leave you, to love you, and to make you the person you are meant to be." So that right there, like it's crazy. This was all written before we even started talking. It's crazy that it just popped up, but I had to read that. So because it's so true.
Bill, what do you want the audience to take away from this conversation?
I think in the end, man, just be of service to others because that's the whole topic like we just talked about too. Like even on my business side, like me having those conversations today that I talked about, right, with my employees, like that's me serving them, like hearing them out, listening. I think a lot of entrepreneurs fail to do that. That you and I have talked about this all the time, failing to listen. Listening is one of the biggest things, assets that somebody can have. You've gotten a lot better at it. You and I talk about that all the time too. And it's it's something more and more people need to do because more people want to be heard, but a lot of people rather just talk, right? And they don't sit back and listen to what other people's needs are, especially in business too. Like me sitting back and listening, even though I think, even though sometimes I might think I don't have the time to do it, I always do it. I'll sit there and I don't shoo people away and say, "Hey, I don't have the time. Sorry, I'm busy right now." Like giving your employees that outlet and that time with you in serving them, having that service mindset, is huge. That's what's going to explode your business. That's what's going to explode your marriage. That's what's going to explode your relationships with your kids, your family, whatever you're looking to do. I think if people just sat back and were like, what's the problem here? It's more than likely the problem is they're not serving, they're not listening, they're not communicating well. Most of it falls on those elements. So that's probably it right there. Hopefully the show was a good one. So
If you're listening to this episode, go subscribe to the Real Build episodes release with regularity. How can people reach out to you if they want to build a home in Naples?
call this number 239-642-3364. Do not spam me because I got quite the gatekeeper. She will not let it through. But but no, I'm just joking. But now if you guys want just reach out to me, find me on social media. If you guys want tips on anything yet, like Jay said, listen to the Real Build. It's all about building houses and what you need to look for in those areas. And yeah, man, I hope to hear from people and connect with them. I love doing that. And you and I are on a mission, and we're gonna take over Naples here shortly.
Please leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast. Go listen to episode 580 and 483. Did I say that right? I'm trying to remember it. 468, 580. Episode 468 and episode 580. Very different conversations. Bill, thanks.
Thank you.